We are back on and so excited to share the next episode of Raising Your Real Estate IQ. As you guys know, I'm Courtney, and I'm a local realtor here in San Diego County, and I love helping buyers, sellers, and investors. And my next guest is Melissa Heil from C2 Financial in Carlsbad. And today we're going to talk about loan grants of up to 7% free money, potentially, public service forgiveness for second loans, and deferment options for student loans and mortgages. So it's really fun. If you guys are watching this, tag your friends who are in public service. And Melissa, you're going to have to help me with this, but this is like nurses, doctors, teachers, anybody who works for the government, military, yes, police, EMTs, firefighters, etc. I mean, there's no better time probably to say thank you to all these people who are helping us in normal days, but even more so now, keeping everything together. So I don't know, Melissa, am I missing any?
Well, yes, and only that even if you're an administrative assistant working at the fire department, you're still eligible. So you don't have to be in a uniform position or a specific title. Just working for those companies makes you eligible.
Great. Even better. So a lot of what we're going to talk about, though, keep in mind, is going to apply to most of us, those that are not public servants, but it's just especially good for people who are in those industries. So that's why I suggest that you guys tag them. There's just extra perks for them. So, and I realized too, before getting started and jumping in a little bit more, I kind of want to acknowledge that just like all realtors aren't the same and they don't have the same skills and tools available to them, the same thing goes with lenders too. So not all lenders are familiar with the different programs that we're going to be talking about today. So Melissa's going to be an awesome resource for us just to get a little bit better of an idea of what's out there, and then she can also help with answering any questions. So thanks for that in advance, Melissa. I really do appreciate that. So like I said, Melissa Heil with C2 Financial, and I think if we're ready, let's jump in. It's gonna be fun. Okay, so first topic, loan grants available. So before you were telling me that there are programs where either 2 to 5% of a loan amount might be forgiven for the general public, and up to, maybe 7 or 8% for service employees. Obviously, it can vary and differ by person, but this is not just for first-time home buyers, which is really, really cool. You said it was for primary residences, so can you tell us a bit more about the programs?
Yes, so you do not have to be a first-time home buyer to use most of these programs. There is some targeted specifically to first-time home buyers, but most of the ones we're going to cover today are available to anyone who lives in the state of California. They are forgivable, just as you said. There's a timeline, so you have to keep the home and keep the loan for 3 years. That's the horizon of when they forgive the principal balance that they borrowed. You don't owe a payment on them during that 3-year period. They do not acquire interest. They just sit on your property title. Okay. And you get to choose how much you want to take. So you can, say I want to do 5, 6, 7. It's very circumstance specific.
That's great. That's really awesome. So free money. I mean, let's put this into perspective. 5% just for the average person. If we're buying a home that has a loan balance of $500,000, 5% is $25,000 forgiven, right? That's huge. Yes. $25,000. I just tried to wrap my head around this. It sounds almost too good to be true, but I believe that this is a program, and it's just really nice because not a lot of people share about it. So that's why I was so excited to get you on today, talk about the program a little bit, just to kind of pique interest. Some people think they need 20% down. I bet you hear that all the time. I know I do.
Right.
And not only do you not need 20% down, but a program like this bundled with, a little assistance from the lender, which is not that hard to get really, can, in the end, help somebody buy a house. We were looking at the numbers for less than $1,000 once all the dust settles.
Yes. And, with first-time home buyers too, it's important. These programs are still available to you. Misconception that I hear a lot is I have to use an FHA loan or I have to use a specific loan for first-time home buyers. These are conventional programs. They're available to, second-time home buyers, third time. The first-time home buyers get all the same opportunities. So they don't ding you or limit you just because it's your first time buying a home.
Mm-hmm. And you were also telling me that the person can keep their current home and make it a rental and still go buy a new primary residence and allow this program to work, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Okay, so if you are a public servant, what's the difference for them?
So for public servants, they get a little bit of an extra perk is they can apply for an additional 3%. It's called the My Home Grant. And that is on top of the seconds that we're referring to that is everybody is eligible for. But these additional 3%, those are always forgivable. Again, 3 years, but they allow you then to borrow on top of the second and on top of your first loan.
That's awesome. So good. So key note here is free money, and you don't need 20% down to purchase.
No,
that's just
you do not need 20% down to purchase. That's absent even using one of these products, 3% down will get you into a home.
That's great. And you were also telling me that refinancing is an option with this too, right?
Yes, you can use these up to 2% of your loan amount to cover your closing costs for a refinance. This is especially great if you were a first-time home buyer and you were in an FHA loan, or maybe a loan that didn't have the best pricing for you. You have a higher payment, but you don't necessarily have the funds or the equity right now to complete a refinance. You can use one of these products, again, 3-year wait period, with them staying on title, but you can refinance yourself into take advantage of the rates today, which are, historically low. It's still, you're still eligible. You can't borrow as much for refinance, but 2% will cover your closing costs typically.
That's great. That's really, really awesome news. Love it. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is public service or servants. Forgiveness for second loans. Can you tell us a little bit more about what type of second loans and how the program's going to work?
Yes, so they're called silent seconds. And the reason for that is that they sit silently on the title of the property for those 3 years during that 3-year period. The public servants are not only eligible for a little bit more funds, but the program, as far as the interest rates on first loans, are also priced a little bit better. They want to get you guys into the houses. They're aware of the schooling or the requirements of working for government, of maybe not working in the private sector and getting the same benefits. And so they're trying to make home buying accessible to you guys too. It's not just someone who makes, $100,000 a year and, has no debt or no student loans or something like that. These programs are specifically targeted to people who need a little bit of help to get into the house.
Yeah. And on that note, on both of these programs, right, it's not like you just make $40,000 a year and you qualify. Like the income limits are huge, right? I remember you were telling me on the first one, it was somewhere around $150,000 a year, maybe. I mean, I know obviously it can vary on some factors, but when I first hear assistance and I first hear free money, I think of, you make $40,000 or $50,000 a year, which again is nothing terrible. But I would imagine okay, if you find yourself in a position where you're making, money that's more like $100,000 or $120,000 a year, you'd be like, oh, this isn't for me. Of course, it's not for me. But it can be. That's even better for those like nurses or I don't know, other people that they might make some really good money, and we want to be able to, open up the possibilities for some people who might say, no, this isn't for me. It's like, no, wait, it could be. So that's the
The programs are income limited in the sense that they're limited by where you live. And so it's area median income. And so they account for the factor that buying a home here is a lot more expensive than anywhere else in the nation, right? And so they say, what is the average area median income where you are purchasing that home? And they go ahead and they say, all right, that is what we're going to cap income at. I am San Diego County, it's like 140,000. So, just because, maybe it's your first year making good money and you haven't had a chance to save, or you have other debts you've been trying to repay, you might have not had a chance to save that money yet. Income wise, you're eligible to get into a house, but you just need, those initial funds to get you where you can actually purchase the home. You can afford it. It's not an issue of being able to afford it. It's just that additional down payment, I think, is what really turns a lot of people off from purchasing a home. That feeling that they have to save some huge chunk of cash that's really not reasonable for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a great point. And sometimes that's all you need, just to get into the house, and then you could start, building equity. We were just talking about somebody who we're not going to be specific about, but they got in with an awesome grant program or an assistance program, and they probably didn't have the best terms ever back in 2016,
No.
but they've been, chipping away at things, and they had an interest rate that was okay, but they're chipping away, they're paying more, and that you just looked at a refinance for them, and they have the ability now to have 20% equity and lose their mortgage insurance and save and refinance with a lower rate right now.
Yes.
And they have that equity, and now their payment's going down like $300 or $400, you were saying.
Yes.
That's just amazing. I think that's a testament to how these programs are supposed to work. They wouldn't have been able to get into a house unless there was an assistance program that gave them funds in order to get in. And now that they did that, and they got over that hurdle, now the future is so bright for them, not only with equity, but also with the fact now that they don't have to pay mortgage insurance. So super awesome.
That's, the great thing about a lot of these loans, it kind of distinguishes living in California, is that you might get into a home using a loan that's going to require higher mortgage insurance, but our property increases in value a lot faster here.
Yeah.
So holding on to a property for 2-3 years, you're putting yourself in a position where you gain substantial equity, and you can refinance yourself then into a way better mortgage that you'll never have to refinance again.
Yeah, totally. I hear you. I love it. And so next, we were going to talk about the deferring or delaying of both student loan or mortgage payments. And this can not only apply to us today in regards to, maybe the little bit of uncertainty in the market. This can apply to people as they're getting ready to buy, right?
Yes.
That you can use this as like a strategic tool. Settle up, because obviously nurses or doctors or maybe veterinarians or whoever it is, like sometimes the schooling bills are huge, and well, how do I get over that hurdle and the hurdle to purchase a house at the same time? So can you tell us a little bit about delaying the student loans and also even mortgage payments right now too? Just a little bit about how those work and kind of what people should know about it.
Yeah, so this is a extremely important topic right now, especially with everything that's going on. A lot of people are furloughed or maybe getting a lower monthly income, and these payments are still just the same. They're still calculated based on your full gross income every month. And so we have options available. Everybody has these options available. Again, not income limited. It's, you can be working still. You don't have to be furloughed, none of these things. But your student loan payments and your mortgage payment can be deferred for up to 3 months, and it's required. So under the new COVID-19 statute that they passed, they have to allow you to defer them for 3 months. But the biggest thing is don't stop paying your payments. You need to contact your servicer directly and establish this new account setup with them. If you stop paying your payments, it's going to report to your credit. You're going to put yourself in a situation where you might not be able to buy a home then for 12 months. If you have late reporting on your credit, make sure you call. They're required to let you do it. It's a little bit of work. I'm sure there's probably long wait times right now. But, if you are in that situation where you have been saving for a down payment, you're furloughed right now, and now you're dipping into savings, you don't have to do that. Call your servicers, work something out, just make sure that you have the right information. You know what your rights are in that regard. They can't tell you no right now.
And I remember hearing from you too, that there's 2 different ways that they can defer, right? Or delay or forbear, I guess.
Forbearance,
where they could either give you the 3 months, and then after 3 months is over, the entire payment from those 3 months and the 4th month is due. It's like a big lump sum. Or the other option that may be available is the lender would be willing to put those 3 months at the end of your loan and basically extend it. But I remember hearing the key thing that you had shared was to get clarity, like crystal clear clarity on what it is. But even more so, don't just stop, because I've heard some people say, well, I heard on the news that we're allowed to stop. And it's like, whoa. There's some truth, but you have to coordinate. You've got to confirm and coordinate and get crystal clear advice so that you don't just stop paying. It has to be arranged. So that was
that's very common right now to think. I have clients who own multiple investment properties, and I'm having to tell them you have to pay your mortgage right now. So don't listen to just what's on the television. Call your servicer. They will work with you. They'll work out whatever payment plan is going to work best for you. They want you to pay your mortgage. You want to pay your mortgage or your student loans. Nobody wants you to go into default. Don't be scared to do it. They're a lot nicer when you reach out to them than if they're reaching out to get money from you later.
That makes sense. Totally does. And so that was a little bit more on the mortgage side, but can you talk also with the student loans? How do you use this tactic of deferment or I don't know, forbearance to strategically set yourself up or a buyer up for being able to qualify?
So let's say that you've put yourself into one of the repayment plans on your student loans, or even you're just following the normal conventional repayment plan. Those payments can be substantial every month, a couple $100, $400 or $500. And that might put you in a situation where your debt to the amount of income you're making is above a percentage that qualifies. And so what we can do is we can call your student loan servicer and say, I want to defer my payments for the next 4 months. Or I would like to only pay $25 a month for the next 4 months. I've never seen them deny one. You can't use them for 20 years to do that, but they will do it for you for 6 months, 3 months, whatever it may be. That allows us to then control the payment that is reporting on your credit. So we control that liability amount, and we can just base it, with a little bit of planning. We have to be able to know ahead of time, look at your income and all those things, but we can say, here's what payment you can handle every month. So that way, that's a forbearance in that option. You're not stopping making payments. You're still working on your principal, or you can choose to go back to that 0 monthly payment. But the biggest thing to remember with those is your interest is capitalizing in deferment. So when you're not making those payments, your balance is increasing. In forbearance, you're still paying down if you choose to. You could also do a 0 payment, 25, whatever you would choose to do and work out with your servicer.
And I remember you were telling me if you don't have a certain amount established, does something special happen? Like they'll take 1%, or is that with maybe that's with HELOCs? I remember that there was like all these different ways to help you protect yourself in regards to the maximum. And maybe I'm getting myself confused, but it's really cool to see that that you have an option that's going to take a monthly cost of $400 or $500 down to maybe $25. So that frees things up for you so that you can qualify if you are able to juggle everything. Of course, we don't want you to overextend yourself in a situation, but if all factors make sense and it's just a matter of having the numbers work for you, it's really cool that you have that strategic, idea of.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't want to stop making payments on their student loans, because they're forgiven in 20 years of payments, or the different repayment plans options, 20, 25 years of payments, they will forgive your balance on your student loans. So people say, I want to keep making these payments. You can choose to make the payments. We just lower the amount. You say, hey, to your servicer, for the next 6 months, I'd like to pay this much. They agree with it, changes the terms. You just got to remember after that 6 months, you're going to be going back to your normal repayment plan. But again, just being proactive about it and, not being scared. I know that they're not nice usually, but if you have the information and you know exactly what to ask for, I want forbearance, I want deferment, and just speak with, myself or Kara, and we can totally guide you guys. And having that information, having that knowledge, that's all you need when you call them. If you know exactly what you want, they're not going to try to push you around in circles about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing with us about the grant, the service forgiveness, the public service forgiveness for second loans, and a little bit about how to work the system with, the student loans and the mortgage payments. So that's really great. So thank you. And one other thing that I thought was really nice is this sounds like a lot of options and a lot of things, and it's hard to know whether or not, an individual qualifies for either these grants, these forgivenesses, or even, giving a little coaching on what do you do, how do you sound like you know what you're talking about when you call. And you had offered, Melissa, the opportunity to have anyone call you, reach out, and you could do like a free, no obligation little helpful consult that just shares, hey, you do qualify for 5% or 6 or 7% or whatever it might be. You do qualify for second loan forgiveness, and here's how we're going to go about it. Or, if you do need this, here's the tips I have. And that's just really awesome. So if anyone is interested in that, again, completely no obligation, nothing, just helpful. And I just really appreciate that you are taking their time to do that, because I know you're really busy right now. But it's really awesome to just have the confidence in knowing what your options are, because the way I approach things, and this is the whole reason why I started this whole, kind of series when I talk with people, is I'd rather have people know about their options and make a decision going through that lens than assume certain things or just not have the information they need and they make a bad decision for themselves, just kind of by default. So
yeah, and you might not make a bad decision. It might just be that there was something better available to you. And it took me a long time to get my head around all of these different programs. It's not, they don't really lay the information out there easily. There's a lot of terminology that you might not understand. So, I can look at your situation and say, here's, your 3 options. And, it is based on personal preference, what you want. Do you want a lower monthly payment? Do you, want a lower interest rate? What is your focus? And we can kind of take those goals and translate them into a financing and see how we're going to be able to help you get into the best loan for what you want and for the type of home you're trying to purchase.
Yep, that's great. So thanks for offering that. And really, all it takes is, if you're watching this, just a comment below. We'll get you connected to Melissa and get you in. I mean, obviously right now you can do a Zoom call or a phone call, just talk and go over options. And the whole process is really pretty simple. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's not, mortgages have evolved a lot. We don't need your tax returns. We don't need, every single document that you've ever acquired in your life. We just need, 6 basic key initial pieces of information. And that's all we need to get started. That's what we use to qualify you on. It's not complicated. Most of it, we do dockless now. And I know a lot of people are at home and they have the ability to kind of, speak with someone on the phone and take that 15, 20 minutes that could really change everything for someone. If they have planned ahead, we can get your credit score up. We can do so many things for you with just a little bit of time. It's different than falling in love with a house and then you've got 30 days in escrow and you've limited your choices in that sense. So, planning ahead and seeing what your options are, most of the time people are very surprised what they can actually qualify for.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're like, I'm not buying right now and I just want to refinance, I just told you about 2%, right? Like that's kind of sweet. 2% for free to cover the cost of you going through the process of refinancing your house to get a smaller payment. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. So why not just see if you're eligible and go from there? So I love that idea. So thank you for that. And then the one other thing that we decided to do together, kind of in light of all this awesome information, is we're doing a home buying workshop. We have 2 dates because the first date went so well. We decided to do 2 dates in April. We're doing the 13th, which is this Monday, from 5 to 6:30. And then we also chose a Saturday, which is the 25th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So if you want to dive a little bit more into the whole process, we're going to go from start to finish on home buying, talk a little bit more in depth about the program that we revisited today for the loan grants, and just kind of do a real good high level approach. It's free, it's easy, it's an hour and a half. You literally come on Zoom and we'll go through the whole thing. So if you're interested, post below too, and we'll get you all signed up. So I think that's it for now, but thank you so much, Melissa. It's been awesome sharing this information, and I'm just so fired up to get this info out because it's so
take
awesome.
Advantage of them. I mean, these are funded by your tax dollars, so you're not taking from anybody else. We've all paid into them, so take advantage of them while you can. You never know what's going to happen in the future with these types of things, so this is the time. Get in there while you can. Take advantage of the low rates. It's home ownership is really possible for a lot more people than they think.
Awesome. Well, thanks again so much, and we'll see you Monday for our home buying seminar. And thanks again, everyone, for watching. Again, any questions, post below, and we're just so happy to share this info with you. Okay, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.